Oop.
Nice going.
There we go. All right.
There we go.
And we are back here once again. Yes, guys, believe it or not, we are already here to talk about the next MCU Disney Plus show. What was originally supposed to be the first one. Actually, WandaVision was supposed to be the second one. But then, of course, the pandemic happened and things changed. So this ended up being the second one. But you guys don't care about this. Either way, we are here to talk about the premiere episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is episode 1, New World Order. And as usual, you know, there would be no Falcon without a Winter Soldier. And, you know, I think I definitely have my trusted compadre here with me. You know, he's here all the time. Here he is. He's on his phone because his computer was just not being a bitch and not really working for him. So here he is, FilmFan0599.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm coming to you from the beauties of my phone.
Yes.
As I struggle to not look this way. Anywho, yes, I'm here to talk about the first episode of the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And yeah, it should be a good time. I hope you know, we have a good time with this, Kevin. I hope we do.
Yes, I always do. I mean, most of the time I have a good time talking to you about this show. But before we do get into it, initial
this
thoughts.
This is our first time talking about the show. What do you mean when we're talking about the show? This is literally
when we're talking about Mandalorian, when we're talking about WandaVision. I mean, when we collab. That's what I meant. But anyway,
especially when we're talking about shitty Facebook shows. Anyway,
yes, that was the peak. That was the peak. It's just never been on the same trajectory since then. But no, in all seriousness, we'll just get into we'll just get into right now. So before we talk about this actual episode, just overall thoughts on the show. Were you excited for it? All that kind of stuff. You know, how'd you feel going into the show, and then what did you think of this episode overall?
Oh, of course I was excited for this. Like, I'm a big fan of both of the characters.
Oh, yeah.
I think there could have been a lot that they could have done with these characters. I was really excited to see that the fact that they were going to do it with their own show. So I was very excited when, you know, they finally announced when it was coming out, and when, you know, finally, you know, this first episode was going to happen. And I got to say, I really liked the first episode a lot. I think it sets up things really well, in my opinion. I really loved it a lot. It honestly really, like, I think it sets up both of these characters really well into the time period that they're in right now and how they're going about with things at the moment. And yeah, I just really liked it a lot, honestly. Like, it was very character heavy, and which is the thing I think I liked about this episode a lot the most.
Yeah,
is like we really got to focus on these characters, you know, as characters, and I really enjoyed it a lot, honestly. So yeah, I would say very good episode. I'm very excited to see where the rest of this show goes.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked this first episode a lot. I think I've seen some backlash with this episode. I think people are still very much on the WandaVision hype train, which I completely understand, but you just have to go into the show knowing that this is going to be something completely different. It's, you know, not.
And also, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is probably going to follow more of the MCU formula than WandaVision did. Like, I think a lot of people also need to understand that this is probably going to follow a lot more into the MCU formula than WandaVision did. So I think that's another thing. You can keep going. Sorry about that.
Yes, definitely. I mean the biggest thing is that, you know, something like WandaVision is a show that, you know, would constantly change things up. It'd be very overly complicated. It had a lot of very deep subtext to it, whereas Falcon and Winter Soldier is far more straightforward. I will definitely say, and people have made this comparison, I already do feel like this is more in line with like those Marvel Netflix shows that we got. It's much more serious in tone. It's very grounded. It honestly feels really adult for the MCU. And I think definitely that's more of what people should expect with this show, is something more along the lines of that, aside from the fact that obviously that was a binge show and this is weekly. So I think definitely, you know, when you look at it in that angle, I think this is a really, really well done first episode. I think there's a lot of stuff we're already diving into that I'm very excited to talk about. And the first thing I really do want to say about this show is that, like I said at the top, this was originally supposed to be the first show of the Marvel Disney Plus era. And it very much feels like that. I think watching this, like, it really does feel like the kickoff to phase 4 with everything that's going on. And I don't know if you agree with me, but like, I feel like this is really like the proper start to this new phase overall.
Yeah, I could see why this was supposed to be the first one in the kind of the ongoing with the Disney Plus series and stuff like that. But
yeah.
And I do think it starts it off, very well, honestly. I do like, because I like where we're going into this and how they were trying to approach this. Obviously, things changed and things turned around and stuff like that. But, I really enjoyed it. I think it sets up new ideas for this phase really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, right off the bat, this show, you were reminded that this is definitely like, this is a full-on MCU show. This is the MCU on TV, and I don't think anything shows that better than the opening action sequence that we get here, which was just so well handled. It was just such a great way to really put us back into that universe, remind us of, something like, say, the Winter Soldier, which this very much does feel like a follow-up to, which makes sense considering, Bucky and Sam were both in the original Winter Soldier film. It makes sense that this definitely is following that, but especially when we see the character of Batroc again. We see Batroc, and I was not expecting them to do that, but that whole sequence where, you see Sam, he's trying to subdue him. He's trying to go after like this terrorist group, but he's not Steve, so he can't just confront him. He has to like hijack a plane, and he has to like use his wings and things like that. It's a great reminder of showing that while Sam is very much sort of taking over for Captain America, he's not Captain America. He's not a superhuman. He has wings, but he's not a superhuman. He doesn't have the strength that Cap really did. And I think this opening scene, they really did a great job with that.
Yeah, I really liked that a lot. It was a very good action sequence, in my opinion. Definitely a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. And like you said, he can't really confront these villains like Captain America can, because he's not a superhuman. And I really enjoyed that a lot, and I really liked seeing that because Falcon is a pretty ordinary guy. Honestly, he has no.
He just has like special wings.
Yeah,
from Star
he has
Trek.
no powers really, but he tries to use the most of what he's got in his arsenal to really, be the best hero he can. And I really like seeing that in here. And I do think, the action sequence was really great. Honestly, I really enjoyed it a lot. It was really good. I really liked how it started off the episode, and I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, it definitely felt on par with what we would normally get in an MCU like opening sequence. And so I thought it was a really great way to start things off. Coming into the show, I heard so many reviews of like, oh, the first action sequence is like absolutely exhilarating. It's going to take your breath away. And I feel like this is already the thing to like get people talking. Like this is going to be one of those sequences where, people could just jump into the show just to see this sequence play out. And, I think definitely it's a really good introduction for sure. So I really love the way they started things out there. But the main thing that Sam is dealing with in this episode, and probably of this entire show, is who he really is after Captain America's death. Because obviously, yes, he is the Falcon, but as we know at the end, Captain America's death, we don't actually know if Steve Rogers died. What I mean is like the Cap that we know is gone. We don't actually know what's happened to old man Steve Rogers. They didn't say. They kind of made us think at first that it was going to be a funeral, but it turns out that's not the case, because as we know at the end of Endgame, he passed on the baton pretty much to Sam and said like, this shield is for you. But what did Sam say? It feels like it belongs to someone else. And so this is sort of a conflict that he's dealing with throughout this episode is, does this really belong to me? Is this something that I should have? Am I worthy of even him being Captain America, because obviously he's not superhuman. He doesn't have that stuff that Cap does. And I thought it was a really interesting conflict. And I think it's something that they're diving into really well. And I've talked about this before. You know, one of the best things about getting to do Disney Plus shows like this is we get to see a character like Sam, who really has just been background. He's been Cap's right-hand man, and that's kind of it. And I feel like that was intentional, you know, that because that's kind of all he sees himself as. He doesn't see himself as something greater. And I feel like this show is definitely hinting at something greater for sure, Double Nine.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed that a lot because that was one of the things I was looking forward to the most going into this, is seeing how Sam was going to handle being handed down the mantle of Captain America. And I really liked seeing that a lot because he doesn't feel like he doesn't feel inside that I don't think I'm the best man for this thing. I don't think I'm the best man to be handled with this situation. And we see that conflict throughout this episode, and I really liked it a lot, honestly. It adds a lot of interesting depth to this character, and I really liked it a lot, and I'm interested to see how it will go even further in the coming episodes.
Definitely. And the thing that I was definitely not expecting to see, I knew he was going to pop up eventually because they did hint at it, is seeing Rhodey. I was not expecting to see
I had no idea. Don, let me tell you something. So, well,
hey, is that Don Cheadle?
Yeah. So when I was watching the episode, right, I'm watching it, right, and then all of a sudden I see Don Cheadle. I'm like, wait, Don Cheadle's in this? And so
it's like that. Cool it's like that. That old guy in the theater where he goes, "Hey, is that Don Cheadle?"
But no, it was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting to see him, so it was cool to see him in this.
Yes.
I enjoyed the little scene that him and Sam had, and it was very enjoyable. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, I really was not expecting to see him here, but I really like that he's taking on a bit of like a mentor role for Sam. I hope that we do see more of him throughout this show. I think it's a bond we weren't really expecting, but already I feel like Don Cheadle and Anthony Mackie, they work really well together. They really didn't have a lot of scenes in the MCU, like just the two of them, but they work really well here. And, Rhodey talks about how, Steve saw something in Sam, and Sam just doesn't really feel like he has that confidence. So rather than take the shield, he wants to secure it in what he thinks is going to be a museum. Obviously, we see there's a little bit more nefarious intent going on there,
but we'll get to that later.
Yes, we will definitely get into that. But I really like where they're going with this. I think this is a really interesting arc for Sam, but it's not the only thing he's dealing with in this episode, because we also do get to see a bit of Sam's background, which I really like. We get to see Sam. He has a family of his own. He has a sister that we didn't know about, and he also has nephews, but it's kind of hard for him because obviously since he's been gone since the blip, they were babies and now they're very much not. So he's trying to like navigate that. And I really like this a lot. I think it's a really good way to flesh out his character. I really like where they're going with his sister, especially. I think that's going to be a really interesting relationship. And I think in the same way they were able to fully develop Scarlet Witch as a character, they're already kind of doing that with Sam here. And I really like what they're doing a lot.
Yeah, same. I really like where they're heading with this character and giving him a lot more depth than we have ever seen with this character, in all honesty. And that's what I think is the biggest factor with these Disney Plus shows now, is that characters that really didn't get as much development in the previous movies are really getting a big focus in here. And I'm glad with that, because I liked characters like Vision, Scarlet Witch, and now with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes,
I do like seeing that they're getting a lot more development now and a lot more screen time and a lot more presence. And I do like where we're going with this with Sam. I do like the conflicts with this character a lot already. Yeah. So yeah, I think that was really good. I'm really excited to see where else it could go.
Yeah, I really especially like the scene where he is, because we have this whole conflict with his sister is in this like fishing business, and she's not sure if it's going to be able to stay afloat because they're not exactly financially stable. And Sam's like confident, oh, I'll be able to get a loan and things like that. Everything's going to work out. But then when he goes to this guy, we get this really great scene where at first this financial advisor, he's just kind of joking with him about being the Falcon, and he just kind of sees him as that. But Sam, for a second, he's like, yeah, I know I'm the Falcon, but like I'm also a real person, and I'm going through a very important, intense situation here where it turns out he has had no income for like 5 years. And I think that's something else that the show is really going to shed a light on, the way that, there are a lot of people in this world that are being denied any income. And Sam is one of them. And I think that for me was the scene that really hit home in this episode, is just seeing what Sam is really struggling with there, and the difficulty of being able to provide for his sister in the way that he needs to, because he once was able to do that and now he's not. And it also seems like the Avengers is not a paying gig. He was not paid for doing this. This is something that he wanted to do, and there's been this misconception that the Avengers have always gotten money, but he hasn't. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. It's like, it's not something you really think about, but it was really interesting to kind of see here that he's a lot less financially stable than we thought.
Yeah, I thought that scene was really good, and it's just like, yeah, it just really makes you think, and I thought it was a very good scene, honestly. Like, yeah, and then like the part where like the guy's like, hey, can you get a selfie with you? Open up the He's like, he was like, I was like, man, are you fucking serious? Like,
yeah, he's like, I'm not doing this.
but yeah, that was a really good scene. I did like it a lot. Yeah, it just adds even more, I feel, So yeah.
So the only other two things to really talk about when it comes to Sam in this episode, then we'll get to the Bucky stuff, because I know you especially really want to talk about that. Is we find out that there's this group going on right now. They're called the Flag Smashers, and already we see this is not a very positive group. This is very much a terrorist organization. They are comprised of people that pretty much, they kind of remind me, and I don't know if you agree with this, they remind me very much of the Guilty Remnant in The Leftovers, where they're trying to prove to people of, a certain thing, similar to how the Guilty Remnant believes that like people are better off in, with the departure. The Flag Smashers, they believe that life has been better since the blip. The life in the blip was better, and that people need to feel that way. And so we have this character, Torres, that I guess is someone that we don't really know a ton about him, but he's someone that Sam has clearly appointed. He's working very closely with. So he's investigating the Flag Smashers, and he goes up to one of them, and we realize they're a lot stronger than him. So I think there's definitely some superhuman sort of thing in there.
Yeah, there's some sort of scrutiny going on there. There's got to be something, because like, goddamn, they like they're a lot more powerful than we seem. Also, by the way, that was a really good comparison. I actually like that a lot.
It kind of reminds me of that.
So, and but yeah, when that scene when like that big heavy set dude was like fucking coming in and charging at him, I was like, Jesus, like he humbled him, good God. And then like, I'm sorry, but I thought they were gonna kill him off. I legitimately thought like he was gonna die. And then when we cut to him and like my man's posed for a fucking selfie to show off this shit, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? But no, I really like that scene a lot, because it just sets up to where like, it seems like we can't really mess with these guys, because who the fuck knows is in these people's systems, like, what I mean, maybe did they get did they find maybe some, like, they created some super soldier serum of their own, like who knows what happened, and I'm very curious to see where that goes, and we still haven't seen Daniel Bruhl yet. So I
feel like he's very much behind this. Like, I feel like that's what Timo's role,
especially how some of the masks look. Yeah, I think he's very much behind this. So I'm interested to see where when he's gonna finally come in and where this all plays in with.
Right, yeah, because Zemo is a big part of this show, and I feel like he very much could be, maybe not the orchestrator, but I think he very much is involved with the Flag Smashers in some capacity. Well, either that or a little other thing that we need to talk about, you know, just this very little conflict going on where Sam's sister turns on the TV and we see Captain America's shield is there and it's not being used in the museum in the way that Sam thought it was going to be. No, instead there's some random fucking white guy that comes out and is like, here is your new Captain America. And we don't know who the fuck this guy is. But how dare they, honestly?
Dollar Tree Captain America is out here. All right, Dollar Tree Captain America.
Yeah, or Carl Fredrickson, as I've seen some people call him.
But like, yeah, just like when you see that, it's just like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's like, Jesus, like, but like, I'm even interested now where that's heading with, like, well, what, like, you know, and because obviously they want this, they want this, this 2 cent Captain America to be a symbol of hope. I will be throwing insults the entire time. I'm just gonna say it right now, but no, but yeah, I'm interested.
I mean, so is all of Twitter.
But his name is Wyatt Russell, right? That's who.
Yes, Wyatt Russell. Yes.
Yeah. So who I've liked a lot from like the stuff that I've seen, like in Overlord and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see how he'll play this role now. You know, I'm very curious to see how he'll play this role. And
and I know in the comics he plays, like, the character is known as like U.S. agent, but it seems like they're doing something different here. Like in the comics, he's like this really like racist character and almost like Homelander. Like that's probably the best way to sum it up. He's very similar to Homelander, where like he's supposed to be like a beacon of hope, but he's really anything but that. So I'm interested in seeing if they're going to take him in that direction or if they're going to do something different, which I kind of feel like they are going to do something.
Obviously, they're not going to take it into the extreme measure that they do with Homelander, but we could possibly see what they could go with this. So but yeah, I am curious because I as like you, I did hear like that's what his character really is. So I'm curious to see what the conflict will be between, you know, him and both Bucky and Sam, and I'm very curious to see where that goes, honestly. Like, I'm really interested to see, because already Sam is not too fucking happy about this, and I'm just as sure Bucky isn't too happy with it either.
Oh, yeah, and I really like the way that they're playing into the idea of people already kind of disrespecting, like, Cap's legacy, because it feels like that's something that would happen. You know, we see that happen more often than not. There are people that die, and then it's something like when an artist dies, for example, and you release music that they didn't want. It's kind of similar to that, where it's like, you know, they're going against what Cap really would have wanted, and we're already kind of seeing that here. We're like, you know, he wanted someone like Sam to take up the mantle because Sam was his most trusted ally at that point. This was his right-hand man. This is someone who he knew at the end of the day, you know, no matter what would happen, he would use that shield for good. And now it's in the hands of some random fucker. I don't know who this is,
Captain
but like
America minus 2.0.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I guess we'll get more into it next week, but I really love everything they're doing with Sam already. I think Anthony Mackie is already doing some really great things with this character. He really is showcasing his range very nicely, and I'm very excited to see where else they go with him.
Yeah, very much. I think also, you know, Anthony Mackie's doing a really good job so far.
Yes.
And I'm very interested to see where the rest, where they'll go with the rest of Sam's story here.
Yeah, definitely. But now we gotta get into the stuff that I think we both can agree, like, as good as Sam's stuff was, the highlight of this episode was 100% what they did with Bucky. Because everything we're really getting here, this is stuff that people have wanted for years in the MCU, and they just really have not had the time to tell this story until now. But we're really starting to see already, like, you know, him going through PTSD, and not only that, him finally starting to chip away at being the Winter Soldier. He finally, for the first time in his life, is a free man. And we see how that has both positive and negative consequences on him, because on one hand, he is going to therapy regularly and he's talking to his therapist about, you can already tell he's not really expressing to her in the way that he should. I love the scene where he's like, oh, you're going to do the notebook thing. It just, anyone that's ever gone to therapy, I feel like it was very relatable when he was like with the therapist and she was trying to get him to open up, but he just wasn't really willing to do that in that way. And I just really like what he's doing, where like now he's trying to almost sort of make up for all of the wrongdoings that he did back when he was the Winter Soldier. I think this is a really great arc for him. You know, he makes sure that he, you know, you don't call him Winter Soldier, you call him James Bucky Barnes. That's his name now. He wants to be seen as that. And I really love what they're doing with him for sure. I especially really like the conversation that he has with that girl in the bar, but I know you really like this stuff a lot, Double Nine. So I'll let you get into it.
Yeah. This was easily my favorite thing about the whole episode. I really loved the stuff with Bucky. I thought it was really amazing. You know, that whole sequence when he's having that nightmare about that, you know, about that incident, you know, and stuff like that. Like that was really great when he's talking to his therapist. That was really amazing too. Like I really liked seeing that, like he's stepping away from the Winter Soldier persona. He's trying to step away from that, but it is still haunting his ass day and night. And I really liked seeing that a lot, especially when he is befriending this older man that we see throughout this episode. And you know,
can I just say, with that older man, he 100% killed that kid. There's no question about it. He killed his son. Like it's
I like, dude, like immediately when I saw when he was befriending him, I was like, is this the father of that son? Because I've seen storylines where they've done with characters like this in the past, and it just kind of just reminded me of that, and I was like, oh man, like Jesus, like,
well, especially because they cut away from that scene where you just see this kid being, you know, you see that guy being like no, and then he just kills him, and it's like there's got to be some significance there. So I think that's definitely his son.
Yeah, and I just like, it's just like, and you know, Bucky feels fucking guilty about it. This is why he's befriending this, and you know, this man, and trying to right this wrong, but like it's just haunting him badly. Like you could just feel it inside of him, and you could see it. Like it's just haunting him badly. And you know, like I really enjoyed that stuff. I think that stuff is really interesting. I really liked seeing like him confronting his past. You know, he's trying to fight through it, but it's still haunting him pretty badly. And I really liked seeing that a lot. I think it's really great for this character, and it just adds for, in my opinion, the most interesting moments of this episode, in all honesty.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I also think Sebastian Stan is really great here too. I really loved him. I really loved his performance a lot in this episode, and I just thought this stuff with him was really fantastic, and I really loved it a lot. It was by far my favorite thing of the episode.
Yeah, I think so too. Sebastian Stan, he's always been great in this role, but you know, it's similar to what he says in the episode where, you know, he went to war and then he just never really stopped going to war, because even when he was broken of, you know, being trained as this assassin and being under this, you know, whole thing that Zemo was making him do, you know, he still immediately had to go into the Battle of Wakanda. And so he's never really had that moment to just take down, you know, to just like sit down and decompress about everything. And that's why I really love that conversation he has in the bar with that girl, where, you know, he talks to her about how, like, I just really haven't had a break. I haven't had a chance to be myself. And you see now he really does want to do that. But you can also see he's not making the best choices. He's kind of shut Sam out of his life entirely. And this is probably, you know, their storylines are probably going to converge through Twin Captain America. That's probably how they're going to converge. Most likely. But I really do love the stuff they're doing with Bucky. And that's when I say, like, this is very similar to those Netflix Marvel shows. It's because they're diving into very heavy stuff like this. This is a storyline that, you know, a lot of people have talked about over the years. Like, why haven't we seen Bucky go through PTSD? Why haven't we seen him go through, you know, him being this trained assassin? Well, now we are. We're finally diving deep into it, and they're doing it in the best way possible. You can tell that they've really done a great job in, you know, researching this stuff and things like that. And I just really love everything that they're doing with him as a character. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think his stuff was probably the strongest of the entire episode. I really love where they're heading with him as a character for sure. And just the opening scene alone, you know, just his first sequence alone, where you see him as the Winter Soldier and he's just mowing down all those people in the hotel. It's like, you have to assume this is stuff he did like every day. You know, this is just one of many incidences that he was forced to do, and you can see how this is like eating away at him. And I'm very interested in seeing, you know, where they're going to go. And I think, you know, what we really do see in this episode is that what both of these men are searching for is, who am I, you know, aside from that? Who is Sam Wilson aside from just being the Falcon? Who is Bucky aside from just being this trained assassin? That's something that they both very much have to discover. And I think we're very much going to end up seeing that here. So that's really everything to talk about in terms of what happens in this episode. I really do want to get into the directing here because, again, this is not WandaVision. I want to say that again. This is not WandaVision. This is much more of a very serious and grounded, almost character drama, I would say, is really what this is. It's very much a political thriller as well, because, you know, Winter Soldier was as well. And I think they're diving into that stuff very well. I like that the show is very grounded. It feels very adult in that way. And I think Malcolm Spellman's directing overall is just really strong here. You know, he really does care about this material, and he's really taking it very seriously. And I just think overall, he wrote it. He didn't direct it. Carl Skoglund directed it, and I think she did a really good job with directing this first episode for sure. Like I said, it wasn't overly serious. There were definitely fun moments in there that felt like the MCU, but I think in general, it feels a bit more mature than what we've seen come before it, and that's something I really appreciate about the show so far.
Yeah, I think the writing and the directing is really good here too. It's very well shot, very well grounded, like you have stated. I really like it a lot. You know, it's very nicely shot in my opinion. I do like the directing a lot here in this episode, and I like the direction that they're going with. Honestly, I think it works very well, especially for these two characters. So yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the directing a lot here, and we talked about it already, but the cinematography in the show, I mean, this is movie level cinematography. Like, it's crazy that we are getting this on a TV screen and not just going to the theater. And that really is the prospect of getting to see the MCU on TV, is that, you know, we're getting these, like, you know, movie level action sequences like what we have in the beginning. And if that's just the opening scene, I mean, I can't imagine what else we're going to get in this show. I think we're going to have some really stunning sequences here. And I really love the cinematography in the show a lot. Again, it really does feel like you're watching a movie. And I think they're doing a really good job with that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, it's really encapsulating the film-like, you know, aesthetic. I do think it does a really great job. Honestly, I really love it a lot.
Yeah, and the only other thing I think to really talk about is, one, the score to the show absolutely slaps. I love the music already. I really like the end credits and things like that, the music that they use. I think it's Henry Jackman, just a really great score. He did the score for the first Captain America, right? Henry Jackman? Yeah, he did.
And he did for Civil War as well. Also Uncharted 4, Thief's End, you know. I really love this, especially the end credit score. That one was really fantastic. I really loved how that was. So I think the score is really great. I think Henry Jackman is a really fantastic composer. I really loved a lot of his stuff, honestly. And I really like the stuff that he's bringing already so far with the show.
Yeah, he's always done a great job with scoring the Captain America films, and it's great to see that he's back here doing the score because he always kills it. But the other thing that I think we're both very happy about is the runtime. This episode was HBO length. It was like 50 minutes, and it definitely needed to be. You know, I think that's something that a lot of people have talked about with a lot of Disney Plus shows, is that, oh, they're not as long, but this show is really utilizing its TV format to its advantage. It was 50 minutes long. It was able to dive deep into both of these characters already, and I was very happy that this episode was 50 minutes as opposed to like the 30-minute episodes we were getting with WandaVision.
Yeah, I do think I really like that that this episode was long. I hope the episodes following are just as long, or even
especially because we only have 5 of them left.
Yeah, or even longer, even at that. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't even mind if these episodes were an hour long, or something like that. So
yeah.
And I do think they get a lot done. Honestly, they really developed it really well in this 50-minute runtime. Honestly, so so I hope with the next episodes, I hope they're just as long or even longer, and they utilize them just as well as they did here.
No, me too. I think definitely, especially with a show like this, like you need that time to really get to flesh out these characters. And like I said, I know a lot of people are complaining, but I really like the slower storytelling. I like the way that this was very character centric. I don't want to see Bucky and Sam meet up immediately. I want them to really take the time to show us where these characters are. And I think that's something this episode just did a really great job with. Overall, I was a really big fan of this first episode. I thought they did a really good job of diving deep into both of these characters for sure. I think what they were able to do in getting to show who these characters are already, outside of them just being Avengers, and them kind of contemplating where they're really going to go after that. I think there's a lot of possibilities with this show, but then also the way it's showcasing, life after the blip, how people are really, how people are really just moving on after that, and also how some people are ruining their life, whether it's the Flag Smashers or whether it's this new Captain America and the shady shit the government is doing. There's a lot of things the show is diving into, a lot of heavy topics, and I think it's doing it very well overall. And with this first episode, I already am very impressed by what they're getting, and I really love this first episode a lot. So I am going to give this first episode, The Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 1, New World Order, an A-.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this overall. I thought it was a pretty great episode. I really loved a lot of the things that happened in this episode, in all honesty. It was some really, really great stuff. I was originally going to give this a B+ at first, but the more I was talking about it, I was like, yeah, there's actually a lot more things I think I loved about this episode a lot more. So I am going to give this an A- as well.
All right, we are on the same page, which is amazing to see. We really do love when that does happen.
I swear to God, I swear to God, this man still keeps on talking like a Twitter stan. I promise you all, I will super kick him. Anyways, I
don't say bestie every 25 seconds, so I am not a Twitter stan. I will never be a Twitter stan. So don't refer to me.
Anyway,
refer to me as such. Anyway, that's really it for our review. But before we do go, you know what happens next, Film Fan. You know what it's time for. So,
here we go. Here we go, folks. You already know. Find me on my YouTube channel at FilmFan0599. Follow me on the Twitters at FilmFan0599, the TikToks at FilmFan0599, and of course, you can find me on the letterboxes at WWE-Fan0599, because they will not let me change the username for some reason. I just will never. Do you have something to tie into this?
Yes, in the same way that that horrible financial agent denied Sam a loan, Letterboxd denies you the chance to really get to change your name, and it's very unfortunate.
Is this sad that this is always my favorite part of the reviews, because you will always try to make it associated with the episode?
You know you love my segues. You know you love them. Deep down, you know you love them.
But once again, thank you for having me on.
Yes. And as usual, guys, very excited to cover this show for sure. I always enjoy getting to talk about, these shows with FilmFan0599. We are going to try to have Auburn Wanderer on for the next week. We'll see how that really does work out. But if not, you know that we will definitely be back for the next episode. So other than that, guys, that's really it for this review. Hope you guys No, not yet.
Not again. Oh, God
All right.
damn it, man.
That's
he
it
just
for
keeps
this
on
review.
fucking up, folks.
That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay,
Okay,
bye.
bye.
I fucking hate you.